I've been in real estate for a while. I've seen a lot of people, enter the business, leave the business, blah, blah, blah. I've seen what works and what doesn't work. So in this video, we're going to go over 4 things to never do in your, real estate business, in your normal business, whatever business you work in, it could apply for anything, but 4 things that you should not be doing if you want to be successful. Usually one of these reasons is the reason that somebody maybe doesn't make it or gives up or quits. I actually recorded this video a few months ago. This is an older video I never uploaded. I got really caught up with the time traveler things, and I stopped posting real estate videos. So now I'm kind of going through the videos that I already had edited and ready to post. So I'm just doing an intro, and then I'm gonna play the video now, and it's gonna be like the normal video intro. So it's gonna be a similar intro. But yeah, I hope this video helps, and I think these 4 things are pretty unique items that not a lot of people talk about when talking about like failing in business. So if you don't know about me, I've been in real estate for 4 years. I have seen many people come, many people go, many people successful, many people not successful, and I've seen like works and what doesn't work, and what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. I'm pretty transparent. I talk about what works for me, and I try not to repeat like the general BS of what other people are saying, just regurgitate information. So in this video, we're gonna talk about 4 things to never do in your real estate business, and this also could apply to any business, but like niching it down to real estate and wholesaling if you want to be successful. So 4 things to never do if you want to be successful. I haven't really seen anybody else talk about, and things that I've kind of seen that happen, things that I've experienced personally, reasons I've seen people fail. So take some notes, and I hope this helps if you're getting started or starting to scale. On a quick side note, I'm recording this in my old apartment, my old like recording corner kind of, so that's why some of the foam panels aren't on the wall. I'm gonna be moving. Probably by the time I upload this video, I will have already moved to my new apartment, which I'm gonna have a 2-bedroom apartment with like a content office room. That's gonna be super cool. Excited about that because I never had that before. I've always had 1 bedrooms. And on another side note, this is probably one of my first real estate videos that I've recorded since like the time traveler stuff, where I went like a tangent. I kind of want to stick to my real estate roots a little bit, and also I scripted this video about a month ago, and I think it's a really good topic, so it's something that I've been wanting to cover for a little bit. And these 4 things that we're going to talk about can be the difference between you losing money, losing deals, getting scammed, buying bad deals, and much more. And by the way, I've lost money on 4 to 5 real estate deals to this point. I've gone taken advantage of by numerous partners. I've experienced it all. Like, my journey has not been perfect by any means. The first thing that you should never do, and this is a little bit, I don't think a lot of people are expecting this, is you should never buy a mentorship. And what I mean by that in particular is you should never buy an expensive mentorship. There's a lot of mentorships. I've invested in mentorships. My first real estate mentor was a guy that, just was like a local guy, Gustavo, and then Brent Daniels, Pace Morby, I've invested in, a bunch of other people I've invested with. And, maybe let's say 5 to 8 people I've invested money and time into, and probably like 4 of them sucked and like the other 4 were decent. All of those were low kind of entries. Like the highest one was around $10,000 that I paid up front to join this mentorship. The other ones within $5,000-$7,000 range. But especially when first getting started, I don't think you should pay for an expensive mentorship. And this is a little bit controversial, but there's a lot of like seminars where there's gonna be like a free real estate seminar, a free business seminar, and then they'll close you at the seminar. And I've been to these, and then it's like a $20,000 ticket or a $30,000 ticket, is in like the price to get into the mentorship, or $40,000 mentorship. I don't want to call anybody out. There's very well-known books that do this, and programs that do this. If you've been in real estate or studying real estate, maybe you've been to a seminar that something like this has been pitched to you. But I don't really see how in any way it's worth it to spend $20,000, $30,000 on especially an entry-level real estate mentorship, where you can get the same thing from maybe somebody that's smaller for $5,000, or on YouTube. You know, you're on YouTube right now watching me. Like, you know, I give good information. There's people that give better information than me. There's tons of information online. So like, I don't see how it can ever be worth it, especially starting out, to spend that much money on a mentorship when there's one, cheaper mentorships and so much free information online. You know, I just want to preface this by saying, you know, I'm sure people have killed it investing $50,000, $20,000. You know, I'm just throwing out random numbers into these programs and have been successful, but I'm sure lots of other people weren't successful. And that's a lot of money for anybody, especially somebody that's trying to start off in real estate. You know, maybe that's their last bit of money. So it's hard for me to really like put together in my mind, you know, at my level in real estate, like, you know, there's a lot of mentorships, but like they're like masterminds and they're high level, and I think that makes sense to invest into because you're around high level people. But entry level, it's tough. You know, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying like, don't just trust everything that people are saying to you. If you're at a seminar, if you're online, people are saying, oh, $50,000, and you know, they're selling you on all these hopes and dreams. Like, I wouldn't rush into it. I think it's something that sets a lot of people back, and you could use that money into buying a property. You can use that money into buying your first, you know, investment, into buying your first flip, or into, you know, starting a wholesale business. Like, there's a lot of other ways that you can use that money. So that's just my opinion, but you know, I think that's a little bit of a trap that a lot of people fall into. Point number 2, I have a quick little story. What happened was back in 2020 when I was first getting started in real estate, I was at a little seminar, probably 30-ish people there, and there's a guest speaker. He's a well-known guy in the local South Florida market. He's not well known nationwide. Like, most people probably don't know who he is, but he had a little seminar, and it was entry level, and he was asking questions to the audience towards the end. He's like, hey, who remembers what, you know, wholesaling is? Who remembers what a double close is? Stuff like that. Basic stuff. And there's this girl, she was answering all the questions. She was like, oh, I know what that is. And she would be like, double close is this, or transactional funding is this. And I don't even know if that was the exact questions, but like, you get the point. She was answering a lot of the questions. And I think most people there, 90% of the people there were brand new, you know, including myself. And we're like, wow, this girl is killing it. Is she a coach? Like, she knows everything. Like, it was in-depth answers too. Like, he was asking, you know, how do you make a proper offer and stuff like that. And we're like, man, this girl is killing it. Like, who is this lady? And you know, after it ended, the guy left. It was like a lunch break or something. You know, everybody was kind of huddling around this girl, and they're like, man, like, how do you know so much? How many properties you own and stuff? And then, you know, she's doing good, and then she actually gets called up to the front of the room, like when we come back, and you know, she's teaching some stuff, and it was like crazy. And, you know, in my head, I'm like, wow, this lady's, you know, a teacher's pet. Like, who is this girl? Like, just sucking up to the teacher, but also like, wow, she knows her stuff. Like, good for her. At the end, I got a chance to talk to her, and I asked her, I'm like, hey, like, how long have you been in real estate? You know, I'm just getting started. And like, how many deals have you done? You know, like, easy questions. And her answer, I still remember to this day because it's crazy to me, but she literally told me, she says, I haven't done a deal yet, and I don't own any houses yet. And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, what, you know everything? How do you not know this? Like, what do you mean? You literally know everything. Like, you were teaching for a little bit. Like, you know everything going on. And when I was driving home, I realized something. I'm like, man, this lady, she knows too much to get started. Like, she knows too much information where she's gonna overanalyze getting started, where she has to, you know, do everything perfectly to get started. And that's when I realized the best way to get started in business and do things is just fumble your way forward. That's really the best way. And I've done that with everything. Like, literally, like, when I first started cold calling, I didn't know what a mortgage was. I was calling my dad. I'm like, hey, you know, what is a mortgage? What is equity? Like, I didn't know any of these words. Like, I was figuring it out. And to this day, like, I just closed on a house a month ago. I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. My first Airbnb I bought, I had no idea what I was doing. That's just kind of like my anthem now, is fumble your way forward. And point number 2, the lesson to never do is never overanalyze getting started. Figure it out. Point number 3 is never trusting like that crazy good deal. That deal is like too good to be true, because it usually is too good to be true. Now, I do urge you, maybe it is too good to be true and it's a good deal, but I urge you to trust but verify. And what that means is get that inspection, get that second eyes on the the property, you know, get a contractor out there. Verify the partners. If it's a partner that's offering you a good deal, you know, verify the partners, verify their history. If it's somebody offering you a good lending opportunity, so it's like somebody that's saying, hey, lend me $100,000, I'll give you $20,000 in 3 months. Verify this person. Have they received money from other people that you know? Are they well known? Do they have, you know, social media? Do they have a following? Do they have like a website? Do they have a track record? Because people, what happens is they see like, oh wow, I could give somebody this amount of money, get this in return, or I could buy this house and, you know, look, it's worth 3 times that. And people get taken advantage of so easily. And it's so easy in real estate to lose money buying incorrectly. It's so easy. Somebody says, oh, you know, you're buying a deal from a wholesaler or buying a deal from a realtor, and the realtor goes, oh, you know, look, you're buying this house for me for $100,000 and it's worth $300,000. Well, then it's like, why isn't the wholesaler or the realtor buying it? It's like they're selling you this like dream. They're like, oh, you know, you could buy this and rent it out for $2,000, and then you end up buying it and finding out you can only rent it for $1,500, and that's $500 that adds up. And it's like, man, this deal wasn't worth it. So it's like, trust but verify. Trust your numbers, trust what the other person is saying, but verify it. And kind of don't trust what they're saying at the same time, but it's a good expression because it's something that I've learned the hard way. You know, I've had partners take advantage of me. I've lost money many times. People say that they knew what they were doing and they didn't. I've lent money to people for 3 months and it's been almost 3 years and I haven't received it back. And it's happened many times. So that's really a big lesson, is never trust that crazy good deal. I would almost, at this point where I'm at in my business, I would rather save my money. Let's say it's like $10,000. Let's say I could spend $10,000 to get $2,000 back, but I could also lose my $10,000, you know, lending it to somebody. I would almost rather not get that $2,000. It's like security of mind, you know, I'm not stressing about it. And let's say they do it to another person and that person gets the $2,000 back, then maybe I'll trust them in the future. You know, be like, okay, I saw that, you know, the other person worked out. I'll trust it with you in the future. But the lesson is, people lie. Sellers lie, buyers lie, people in real estate lie. Don't just trust everybody. I've had sellers give me sob stories about, hey, I can't sell you the house anymore. You know, something this came up, and I'm like, okay, no problem. Like, I trust you, like, stay in the house longer, you know, maybe in 6 months we could buy it. And then they sell to somebody else a week later, you know, for a higher price. And I'm like, bro, why did they give me this sob story then? Or buyers back out of contracts and not give me their deposits and never were serious. So it's just tough. Just don't buy a house or buy a deal by somebody else's advice. If they really think it's that good of a deal, then tell them to buy it and see how it works. Point number 4 is probably the biggest reason that people lose money, and something that you should never do, and it's forcing a deal or buying in an area you don't know. So an example is, you know, you really want a house, like you want the concept of owning a house, and you know, somebody's selling you a house, and you know, it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't. And you're forcing the deal because you want just to own a house, like it's something on your bucket list, and it ends up being a terrible investment, and you force the deal. And it's hard to like put down the exact moment of when that happens, but like you'll know when it's happening. You know, you'll know when you're forcing a deal where the numbers are tight and the seller won't budge, and you're like, okay, you know, I can, you know, kind of do it, although I want it to be 15K less, you know, I can kind of do it, and then it ends up being a bad deal, and that 15K costs you losing money. That's forcing a deal. So don't force the deal, and don't buy in an area that you don't know. An example of this is a different state, you know, a different zip code, a different neighborhood, and it's like, oh, you know, like I'm assuming like all of Miami is the same, and it's like, okay, you know, I'm buying between Coral Gables and Liberty City. It's like, okay, you know, somebody tells you, oh yeah, they're similar, you know, Liberty City's up and coming, but it's still, you know, a rough area, and you're bought in that area expecting it to not be rough. So, you know the area you're buying in, do some due diligence, and don't force the deal. You know, if the deal doesn't make sense, walk away with it, because we have abundance mindsets. You know, we're okay walking away from deals because there's gonna be 10 more deals behind that one. And just for reference, I've been wholesaling since 2020, but I bought my first house in 2023. Although looking back, I should have bought more. You know, I was wholesaling too much, to be honest, because some of those wholesale deals like doubled and tripled in price since then. But you know, it took me 3 years, 2.5 years to buy my first house. You know, I didn't force any deals. You know, I was like, okay, this one makes sense. sense, I'm gonna do it. And I just closed on another one and I'm like, this one makes sense, I'm gonna do it. So, you know, don't force a deal. Don't stress yourself out. If anything, flip the house, wholesale the house, and just make a quick little, you know, buck and keep it going, keep the momentum. And just because you know the seller doesn't mean you have to buy it. Let somebody else buy the house. But yeah, those are 4 things that you should never do in your business. Back to real estate videos. It's fun doing real estate videos. I hope this provided you some value. You know, subscribe if it did. Hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching.